Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on MG Sports for the last match day of the league portion of the KFC Under 18 Elite Cup. And as you can see on your screens, it is a showdown between first and third place. Mount Pleasant versus Kingston Football Academy, of course. Both teams already pretty much guaranteed a spot in the semi-finals. Mount Pleasant won the league position, won first place in the league phase of this competition quite comfortably after doing the same last year before going on to win in the playoffs, beating Harborview in the final. KFA, however, will be looking to go one better than last year. They ended up finishing third, I believe, last year. I'll be hoping to come out on top of in this edition of the KFC Elite competition. And thankfully, it promises to be a fantastic round of fixtures, not just today, but the rest of the way, with some players coming back, as well as some fantastic games that are about to get underway. A lot of young stars, budding young stars, just showing their quality right throughout this tournament, announcing themselves to the island, showcasing the best of what the island has to offer at this age group. Regardless, there's still some ways away from kickoff, so stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right here, and we should start at about 12:30. Good afternoon once more, ladies and gentlemen. Back here for the final match day in the league phase of the KFC Under 18 Elite Cup, the 2026 edition, and promises once more to be a great match day here. First of 3 games will be played between Mount Pleasant Academy, who have already wrapped up first place, and they'll be playing rather Kingston Football Academy, who are in third and in no real danger of falling out of that coveted top 4 spot that guarantees them a place into the semi-finals. So we'll just be reading the match day lineups for you. We have Marketing Spence in goal for Mount Pleasant. We have Sean Williams, Ronaldinho Harriet, Mario Nelson, Jackson St. Nord, Juby St. John Philip, Jaden Brown Hannaford, Durrani Hines, Northern Newman, and Javier Henry playing today. As for the starting lineup for Kingston Football Academy, we have Javier Coke once more in goal. He's returned after Stephen Dixon was the starting goalkeeper last week. We have Devon Adlam, Kenrick Brown, Demar Wallace, Kiri Senior, Dejan Ho Young, Rashid Payne, Davian Clark, Kevon Holloway, Taylor Faulkner, and Kelvin Brown. And as you can see, the players have made their way onto the pitch, and it's only a matter of time before we get started. We're slated, of course, for 12:30 kickoff, but unfortunately had some stuff go against us. But nevertheless, oh, and as the players are just getting ready and getting out of their huddles and team photos, I have to say it's been a great season thus far. 2025 was excellent, a great start to this competition. 2026 has been really good as well, and despite the fact that a number of players have been unable to play or play regularly, we've seen a number of new stars emerge, and they have been really, really exciting to watch. And it's been exciting not just to see them play in terms of their play style, but it's always exciting to see fresh blood. And Mount Pleasant have had quite the amount of turnovers. A number of these players have played from last year, but taken on bigger roles, such as Javier Henry and Sean Benjamin, Jackson St. Nord, guys like Samuel Taylor as well. But a number of new faces as well have emerged. Players like Ras Ronaldinho and Ras Ronaldo Harriet, who have been, for my money, perhaps the best fullbacks in this competition. They've been absolutely sensational. And now the game gets off on the way here. Mistake in the middle of the park by KFA, and they've surrendered position to Javier Henry now. Lovely bit of skill to get it past to a teammate, and St. Bernard picks up position after losing it momentarily. Like, lovely back heel to Javier Henry now, who's out wide with Adlam. Surrenders possession after a tumble. Senior. Philip gets the ball back. And KFA doing well here in the middle of the park. Oh, lovely pass there. Can he find Dejan Ho Young? Just couldn't, and in any event, he is offside there. Davian Clark returning to the middle of the park as captain. Saw him, of course, play in the All-Star Showcase for the Under-16s for the North versus South match recently. Played well, but now KFA here on a dangerous looking attack. Tyler Faulkner turning to the starting lineup, hasn't played all season. But of course he was a big part of their squad towards the back end of last season. Of course, most likely has had commitments elsewhere as to the reason why he's been unable to be available for selection. But now it's Kendrick Brown. And that pass there is cut out from Shaquan Elliott. No Romy Henry available today. A bit of a surprise, must say. No Robinho Morgan as well. And I believe Keyshawn Lewis as well. A number of regulars today for KFA either unavailable for selection or just haven't been selected. Not sure exactly as to the reason why. I do know, however, that Robinho Morgan was nursing an injury over the last couple of weeks. Perhaps that plays a part. They're just trying to wrap them in cotton wool ahead of the playoffs, which are going to kick off pretty soon. Just a reminder that the first place team will play fourth place, and fourth place is still not wrapped up as yet. Of course, we know now for certain that Mount Pleasant will finish this league phase as the first place team, but fourth is still up for grabs. And later on in the afternoon, when Waterhouse play Portmore, it will prove a chance for both teams to state their claim for making the semi-finals. Both teams have been fantastic this year. Of course, both of them are also coincidentally new to this competition. Played out wide now to Faulkner. Has quite a bit of speed and pretty direct player. Can he showcase that now? A bit predictable there, trying to cut inside. Lost the ball. Now KFA on the ball once more. Lost position there. Payne also played in the under-16 showcase. He nods it on, gets the ball back, skips past Hannaford as a strike from distance, and caused Marcadine some concern, but not on target in the end. Just a reminder for those who are unaware terms of the league standings currently. Mount Pleasant, as mentioned before, in first place. Harborview second with 23, and Mount Pleasant at first with 27. It's certain now, as I mentioned before, that Mount Pleasant will finish first. There should be an offside decision against Jackson St. Leonard, and the flag does eventually come up. But nevertheless, KFA in third, and they should be finishing in that position unless the Waterhouse win and KFA lose today. But regardless, they should be finishing at the very least in the top 4 spot. Their goal difference is perhaps insurmountable for Portmore and Ballers Academy to surpass. Waterhouse are on 15, however, 1 behind KFA. They could overtake them today with a win potentially over Portmore, which will be the last game of the day. Portmore United are in 5th position on 13. Balls Academy are on 12. And Montego United, who have already played all their games, so they won't be playing today, they are on 2. A shot coming in there from Clark, and that goes wide. I have to say, it's been quite the season in terms of shot results, but also shocking players who have really come to the fore as standout players. Of course, we saw glimpses of some of these players last year, but their development has been interesting to say the least. Samuel Taylor and Rashawn Williams being among them, to me, the most pleasant of surprises. We saw quite a bit of Rashawn Williams, especially towards the end of the season. He was not necessarily a regular starter last year. That should be an offside against Hannaford. Not called. St. Leonard trying to win the ball off of Adlam, and he gives up a foul. But nevertheless, we saw Sean Williams make a couple starts here and there, but for the most part he was coming off the bench pretty regularly. But he did receive a fair amount of game time in comparison to the majority of players who were pretty much only getting probably a game or two throughout the entire season, like Samuel Taylor or Hannaford or Benjamin. St. Leonard played somewhat regularly as well, but to see those players mature, not just in terms of the personality, but their game, and really take it to the next level and become arguably some of the best players in this competition, has been a joy to watch. Sean Williams, for my money at least, is perhaps the leading candidate if I have to pick one in terms of would perhaps be the MVP. Been the most consistent of the players that I've seen throughout the competition. And KFA has a shot from Dejan Ho Young, and a very dangerous opportunity there. Good defending. But they've lost the ball here, Mount Pleasant, and they haven't looked as dominant as they have all season. And a big reason for the reason why they're in first position is because they've been controlling the middle of the park throughout the course of the season against every team that they've come up against. But KFA are a team that does the same quite well as well. Taylor. Nelson, lovely turn. Durrani Hines, who played last season as well. Rashawn Williams didn't quite get to it, and that goes out for a throw. And will be taken on by KFA. Senior receives the pass now from Coke. Gets it out wide to Adlam, who he's been a revelation as well. Been really good this year for KFA. Taylor puts it into the path. Now of Williams to St. Leonard. Is he offside? Yes, he is once more. St. Leonard, I love his direct approach, always hanging on to the last line of the defense and trying to make those runs in behind to use his space to devastating effect, but unable thus far, however, to really look across the line well enough and keep onside. Clark. And Harriet there. Good defending once more from Rasfinaldo Harriet. St. Bernard to Harriet. Loses position to Clark. Phillip. Spence, who of course was their starting goalkeeper last year in this competition as they won. Adlam. Last possession there, couldn't hold on to it, and that will go out of play for a throw in. Oh, lovely ball going through, and Jean Ho Young just hesitated for a second there with his run, and I believe if he had just been a bit braver there, could have latched onto it. Hannaford onto Henry. They will be most tantalizing players in this competition to watch. Harriet into St. Honor, but couldn't chest it down. He does win it back, however, for Mount Pleasant, and now it's Henry. Gets past his man, a cross coming in, and Taylor. Oh, he met it at the back post, just couldn't direct it goalward, however. But that's really perhaps the first chance in this game, and it comes from Mount Pleasant, who are now beginning to find a bit of joy down that right-hand side through Javier Henry, who's been fantastic throughout the course of this season. 4 goals to his name, and besides the end product, his overall game is fantastic. He's pretty much an old-school winger. Can beat you inside or outside. Very unpredictable, very skillful, quick, not just in terms of top-end speed, but change of direction. Hopefully Jackson St. Nord, however, is okay. He does seem to be in quite a bit of pain there as he tried to win that duel after winning the ball back. Hopefully it's not too serious. You can see the chance here, however, took Kenrick Brown down that right-hand side, and Samuel Taylor's connection with the ball just not enough to end up in the back of the net on that occasion. But Jackson St. Nord, if you do remember, was fantastic last week against Montego United. Did scored a great goal. Out wide to Dejan Ho Young. Oh, lovely bit of skill there to get past Henry, giving him a taste of his own medicine. But then Ho Young just trips over his own feet, and Pleasant have the ball back. Not sure exactly what happened there, just a bit of a malfunction, but lovely bit of skill from Ho Young there. Hines to Henry. Hannaford. Henry plays it into the path now of St. Nord. Loses in the foot race to Senior, but he's won the ball back here. Has a chance now, turns, shoots, and straight into the chest of Javier Coke. But lovely effort from Jackson St. Nord. Did well to win the ball back here. Hines. Newman to Taylor. Taylor, lovely pass out to Henry. Still onside. Oh, good pass, but can't get it all the way through to Hannaford, and in the end, great defending coming in there from KFA. Kelvin Brown on that occasion makes his return, of course, to this competition towards the back end of the season. I believe he started his first game against Waterhouse a couple of weeks ago in that 4-1 win. And of course he did play, if you remember, for Harborview last year. That corner goes all the way through to Rashawn. Cross, unable to find anyone, and that will be a goal kick. It wasn't the best of corners, but then again, there was no one in the box anyway. And then the attempted cross, I believe, from Rashawn, just too much on it. Just a reminder, folks, we do have 2 remaining games for you. As we wrap up the league phase of this competition, we have Harborview playing Ballers. Of course, Harborview really have nothing to play for. They've pretty much wrapped up second position in the competition. But Ballers Academy, on the other hand, however, have everything to play for. Still only 3 points behind Waterhouse, who are, of course, chasing that fourth position. They are currently in fourth, but they want to remain there. And actually, my apologies, Ballers Academy actually have been knocked out, because regardless of their result, regardless if they win or not, Waterhouse, their position in the table means that they'd be unable to be knocked out. So it's really between Waterhouse and Portmore to see who goes all the way through to the semi-finals this year. And a lovely touch around the corner by Faulkner, but gave up his leverage to Derani Hines, who does well there. Wins a free kick for Mount Pleasant. Hines captaining the team today instead of Rashawn Williams, who's been their skipper for the majority of the season. St. Bernard wins the header, unable to get it all the way through to his teammate, and David Clark wins a foul here for KFA, I believe, after a blow to the head. Will be a free kick. Demar Wallace, who scored a hat-trick already earlier this season, a couple of weeks ago against Waterhouse, he'll be looking to get on the score sheet yet again. Lovely turn from Payne. Kenrick Brown to Dejan Hoyong. Oh, did well there. Good footwork from the young number 11 there, but he's unable once more to retain position. St. Honor taking on Senior. Lost out there. No Cristiano Myers today for KFA.
Well done, Crackface, well done.
KFA inexplicably have just booted the ball out of the pitch there from a bit of a weird decision from Rashid Payne. Will go out for a throw-in, however, to Mount Pleasant. Now Harriet to take the throw-in, trying to find Jackson St. Bernard, who heads it on once more to Williams, who has the ball. Dangerous in these areas and has a shot. And it's blocked, however. And KFA now can come on the counter-attack. Faulkner, a touch, a cheeky one, trying to get it through to Holloway, I believe, but not enough on it. Taylor to St. Bernard. Into Williams. And that's caught out there. Good defending from KFA. Hines, well done there to just allow that to go all the way through to Marcadine Spence. Taylor wins the ball back from Mount Pleasant. Driving now through the heart of the midfield. Hannaford trying to keep position there, unable to. And a bit of a reckless challenge from Williams, who's looked a bit out of sorts so far in this competition, in this game rather, not the competition. Harriet, Henry. Oh, lovely ball over the top, trying to find Samuel Taylor. However, good goalkeeping. Oh, Young. Brown out wide now to Senior. Clark trying to get it out wide to Adlam. Can get across here now. And oh, unfortunately, no one able to tap it home. And that will be a throw in for Mount Pleasant. KFA have largely enjoyed the majority of goalmouth action so far inside the opening 22 minutes of this one, but unable as of yet to really create any clear-cut opportunities. Haven't really forced Dean Spence into a save. Mount Pleasant, on the other hand, haven't looked quite as dominant as they usually do. They have looked dangerous in spurts, and the only shot on target of the game thus far does belong to them, courtesy of a Jackson St. Honor shot after he won the ball back from Akiri Senior. The short little water break there has ended and can get back to the game. And Mount Pleasant have a throw in here to take. That's Ronaldo Harriet. Just looking for options here on this far right hand side of the pitch. Finds Henry. Does well to skip past Kenrick Brown, and he wins a foul. Ooh. Henry there just was being grabbed as he scampered away from his marker. Harriet delivers downfield, trying to find the Jackson St. Honor, who was in pursuit. Payne to Brown. Finds Kenrick Brown. Now here's David Clark. Let's it run all the way through to Kevon Adlam. Gets the ball back from Wallace. Cross coming in towards that far post. Can Ho Young head it back in? Yes, he can. Holloway has a shot. And saved by Marco Dean Spence. Of course, mentioned before, he hadn't had a shot on target throughout the course of the game thus far, but they have one now. And a lovely ball from St. Honor to Henry. The game's heating up now, and Henry, ill-advised shot there. And if you're going to shoot from there, at the very least, get your body over it and put it far post, but he just couldn't there. Just a lack of composure. bit of a rush of blood. Great opportunity, but as he saw Akiri Sr. coming his way, just perhaps lost a bit of focus, and nevertheless that chance goes a begging and score remains 0-all. A bit more back and forth action now since the break, and I like to see that. Hines, expert defending from Deronnie Hines, and that's what you'd expect from the most experienced defender in this back line. It's pretty much a guaranteed starter last year, or at least participant, I should say, whether it be starting or off the bench. Henry trying to find Williams, unable to. Oh, Young. Oh, lovely interplay here from KFA. Holloway. Falconer. Holloway trying to find Kenrick Brown, but that'll go all the way through to Marco Dean Spence. Now KFA trying to keep that in play with Kevon Adlam, but that goes out for a goal kick. Just a reminder of last week's results. Ballers Academy did stun Waterhouse 3-2. Of course, they were without their talisman Jamon Lyle, but nevertheless, Ballers Academy, great result coming in from them. Courtesy of Kimani Thompson with the masterclass. Ooh, shot coming in here and very narrowly creeping in at that far post. Davian Clark having that attempt there. Not for the first time do we see that just narrowly missed the far corner on that left hand side of Marco Dean Spence's goal. But nevertheless, score remains 0-all. As mentioned before, Waterhouse did lose 3-2 to Balls Academy, courtesy of Kimani Thompson having arguably his best game of the season, 2 goals and 1 assist. Kingston Football Academy, they lost 1-0 to Harborview, for the second time this season losing by the same result to Harborview. And they'll be hoping to right that wrong in the playoffs if they should get a chance to play them, of course. And of course that will be only possible if they make the finals, but there's definitely some revenge on the mind from KFA. Not just the fact that they've lost twice to Harborview so far this season, but the fact that they lost to Harborview in the semi-finals last year in what was a pretty poor, not just result, but the performance was pretty poor as well. They were without last year their standout player Nikolai Banton. Mount Pleasant have won the ball back here with Williams. Puts it into the path of Taylor. Beats the goalkeeper who's left his goal. Taylor spins. Oh, and Williams miss kicks. Oh, bunch of errors. A comedic sequence of events. Mount Pleasant. Really unfortunate to not be 1-0 up there. Samuel Taylor did everything right, got past the goalkeeper, but in the end he was unable to find the back of the net, and so too was Rashawn Williams, who got a missed kick, but thankfully Hannaford wins the ball back. And now here's Henry down that right hand side. Has acres of space to run into. Will take on Kelvin Brown. Gets down that right hand side, and great defending coming in there, and that will be a goal kick. Kelvin Brown, one of the standout players in his position in the country at his age group, and there you can see Samuel Taylor lost the ball there. Sean Williams just has looked off the pace today, and as I mentioned before, to me he's been perhaps the most consistent player throughout this competition. but he's really looked off it today. Dejan Ho Young trying to beat Harriet, unable to, however, thus far. Lovely pass over to Kenrick Brown. Oh, lovely bit of skill there to get past Hines. Appeal for a handball, but his hand was at his side. I doubt the referee would give that. Henry trying to find St. Nord, who appeals for a free kick after being shoved, and he does win it. St. Nord wants a yellow card, but the referee just urges him to get up. Definitely a foul, but I'm not sure about a yellow. Doesn't have the ball now, and that pass there goes astray. KFA now have the ball with Kendrick Brown. And Harriet wins it back once more. Lovely ball out wide now to Williams. Can he conjure up something? Lovely ball over the top to Javier Henry. Across now towards St. Nord. Put back into the fray by Williams, but no one there able to meet it. And I suspect that despite St. Nord's industry and his skill on the ball, in that position you do need an out-and-out number 9 who's a bit taller as well as has the goal-scoring instincts to just get in those areas. Somebody like a Sean Benjamin, who did score twice last week in their resounding victory against Montego Bay United. It was complete and utter domination. Montego Bay did give a good fight to go account of themselves at times, but they did lose ultimately 4-0. And should this result look in danger of not going Mount Pleasant's way, they do have the services of Benjamin to call upon from the bench. Corner now to be taken by Dejan Ho Young of KFA. Corner coming in. Oh, headed away by Nelson, but looked a bit in danger there of heading it into his own net at times, at a point. And it'll be taken now on the far side. Davian Clark will go over to take this one. In swinger. Bit of an unconventional setup there in terms of how the players were lining up in the box, but it's not necessarily come off. And Samuel Taylor, lovely balance there on shoot to get away from Tyler Faulkner. Gets it out wide to Rashawn Williams now. Gets it to St. Nord, who can try to put a cross into the box. Trying to find Taylor, but that's kicked away now. Good clearance for KFA, and there's DeMar Wallace. Finds Holloway. Driving his team forward now. He has to his left. Kenrick Brown can attack Harriet down this left-hand side. Ups for a cross, and Spence will claim that quite easily. And the distribution there from Spence, not the required level. Couldn't quite get it out to Williams, and that will be now KFA's ball. Oh, poor pass there. Really bad giveaway from Holloway, and St. Nord has Taylor in support. He gives it to him. Oh, he's took it humble, but I suspect that the referee is in full understanding of the fact that was not a foul. It was more so that Taylor just slipped, and therefore there's not only no need to award a foul, but no need to award Taylor either for simulation. It wasn't a dive, he just slipped. Fully in control of the game thus far, the referee. And kudos to the referees in this competition thus far this year. They have exerted more authority, I believe, over the games over the course of this season than they did last time this competition was held. Last year, I feel like they allowed some of these players to get away with stuff, make certain comments, and do certain unsportsmanlike activities that I feel like really marred the competition at times, especially in the final. But we've really seen an absence of those type of incidents this year. Of course, we can forget last year's semi-final with Mount Pleasant and Cavalier, where a brawl took place that pretty much took up 30 minutes of the final. However, it was an exciting game, perhaps the most exciting game all season, that 1-0 win, which of course was decided ultimately by a goal from Franco Celestin, who was unbelievable last year. One of the best players in the competition last season, and I tell you what, his performance against Montego United last week was, again, in terms of individual performance, arguably the best this season, despite only having an assist. If you just watch that game, he was just outstanding. Had the beating of his marker. His creativity was on show as well in the final third. Headed away. Williams is there to chase, however, and get the ball back from Mount Pleasant, who, despite starting a bit slowly in this half, in this game, they have started to exert a bit more control over the game. And they've been great, creating a couple of opportunities, half chances, but now let's see if they can get a goal before the end of the half. They won't do it, making mistakes like that there from Javier Henry. Clark passing to Wallace, who let it run across his body, but lost out there to Newman, and that will be a throw for Mount Pleasant. And that's a fall through there by Newman. Will be going the other way to KFA, deep into enemy territory here. Clark spins, Wallace, spins away from his man, gets past Nelson, across coming in, and good defending by Hines, good positioning. Had to be there. And I have to say, one of the things that has impressed me most, of course, Mount Pleasant are the best defense in the competition, but it's really the fact that they defend better than anybody else in this competition in phases of the game where most teams in just this age group, not just this competition, this age group, really struggle, especially in schoolboy football. See them tend to struggle with those crosses and those cutbacks to the top of the box. They defend them well. Their positioning is always excellent. Corner coming in. Ooh, he didn't claim it, Marco Dean Spence, and in the end, Tyler Faulkner unable to guide that touch goalward. That will go out for a goal kick. It's better off just controlling that, just taking it down and then just putting a pass into the box or trying to create some space for a shot, but in the end will be a goal kick. And of course, Spence in no rush to take this, just waiting until Durrani Hines made his way onto the pitch. Ooh, Nelson in a bit of trouble here, but he does well to get around Tyler Faulkner and held on to the ball a bit too much, and he's almost lost it. He just needs to pass the ball now, but he has won a free kick. Newman looking for the run now of St. Honor, but that's out of play. And the fans just getting a kick out of that recent fall there by Faulkner, who was pretty much on the back of Mario Nelson, and I have to say Nelson's a bit fortunate to get away with that. Placed himself in a pretty awkward position. Ooh, kept it in place, senior there, but his touch wasn't the greatest. Oh, got past his man really well there, but then he's lost position. Holloway, and now Mount Pleasant have it out wide. Rashawn Williams. Lovely ball over to Saint He takes it down. Has a shot, and oh, somehow on the stroke of half time, unable to put it into the back of the net. And I have to say, this is what he brings to the table, Rashawn Williams, and that is why, a part of why I believe he's to me the most consistent player in this competition thus far. It's because he can provide moments of magic like that. A wonderful pass, perfectly weighted into the path of Jackson St. who had the goal at his mercy. Unfortunately, was unable to convert. And that will mean that it's 0-0 at halftime between Mount Pleasant and KFA. Two teams who, of course, as mentioned before, really have nothing to play for first and third place. And they're pretty much cemented in their positions. Of course, KFA can only fall as low as fourth, depending on what happens here, as well as that game between Waterhouse and Portmore. But at the break, it is half time. I've been your commentator, John Stewart on NG Sports, and we'll be back after the break. Gets it now to Samuel Taylor, who didn't track the ball quick enough, and good defending in the end there by Rashid Payne. Go out for a goal kick to KFA. Williams perhaps just played the pass a bit too early. And I think the most is they're so versatile tactically. We see Rashawn Williams especially functioning as a number 8 a lot of times, but he's so very often this season played as a number 10. And that's where he's been playing so far this season, this game. Oh, Dejon Ho Young's on the attack here. He's beating a couple players across into the box. Oh, unfortunately unable to find a teammate there, but now it's Kevon Adlam gets the ball from DeMar Wallace. Cross coming in, booted out of play by Hannaford. As mentioned before, we've seen Williams being deployed in a couple of roles, and you see him just occupying those half spaces, drifting out wide as well, dragging defenders out of position, and he's just been really a joy to watch and how smart he is technically. Makes some pretty rookie mistakes at times, but great footballer. Corner coming in. Oh, and he's controlled it now for KFA. Payne was about to have a strike, and Williams won the ball back, and he's driving forward, and a lovely pass once more out wide to Samuel Taylor. Can take on Adlam. Trying to get into the path of Williams, who wins the ball back. Turns past Brown, and Williams wins a free kick. Oh, actually, the ball's gone the other way, and there will be a... Well, it will be a free kick to Mount Pleasant, I assume, but Rashid Payne's down at the other end. And referee will just try to get some assistance for him. Thankfully, Rashid Payne should be able to continue. And we're just awaiting what exactly the call is. And the ball will go back to KFA. I thought it was going to be a foul for Mount Pleasant, because it did seem Rashawn Williams was tripped up. But it seems that the referee thinks otherwise. Somehow he thinks that the shove on Rashawn Williams was not a free kick, so we'll go the other way to Mount Pleasant. To KFA rather. Now here's Samuel Taylor. Cuts back, spins away from a couple players, and eventually the ball goes out for a throw into KFA. Adlam. And Clark spun away there from his man, but Chubby, Gene Phillip, perhaps the most underrated component of this team. Of course, Rashawn Williams will take the plaudits. Oh, lovely ball once more, as he should for players like that. And Henry unable to get his 5th of the competition, but once more on display just why I so strongly believe that he's perhaps been the standout player in this competition thus far. It's moments like that. He scores goals. He of course, can beat a man when necessary, but it's that vision in the final third. Inexplicable. Somehow always able to find the right pass and put the weight on it, the required weight on it in the final third. Always genius of a passer for his age, I have to say. See Hannaford there with that little flick of the head of his opponent, but unable to keep it in play. But now it's Taylor. Lost position. And KFA have the ball now. A lovely ball out wide from Clark into Ho Young. Can take on Harriet. And he skipped past him. Oh! Dangerous opportunity there from Dejan Ho Young. And I believe that will go out for a corner kick. But he had Harriet in a knot there. And it's not often that you see players really put Ras Ronaldo Harriet in a blender. He's been solid 1v1 all season long, but on that occasion, bested by Dejan Ho Young, one of the trickier players to defend in those wide areas. Corner coming in, headed away by Harriet. Now here's Taylor. Ooh. Left the ball alone there, and a shot coming in from Kelvin Brown, but that will go out all the way for a goal kick. Considering he didn't even see where he was kicking, well, not a bad effort, but Sean Williams lost the ball there, but Mario Nelson, good defending. Now into the path of Williams, and once more, lovely pass out wide. However, Javier Henry just didn't quite look across the line, and on a number of occasions now we've seen Mount Pleasant be called for offside. They love those passes, line-splitting passes from Sean Williams, but on that occasion, offside flag goes up, and once more the offside flag goes up here, this time over against KFA and Dejan Ho Young, but please goes to the team in blue, Taylor. Lovely ball over the top now for Jackson St. Nord to chase, and good defending in the end from Akiri Senior. And I think that's one of the reasons why Mount Pleasant are so dangerous, because they can be patient and build up, but whenever they do opt to go direct, they don't just hopelessly lump balls up forward. They play them into spaces where certain players are able to chase, and they put the right weight on their passes to get it into them. And Rashawn Williams in particular has the freedom to do as he pleases in that final third and drive forward with the ball and supply those killer passes into his wide players and his front men, because Juby John, St. John Philip and Hannaford have held down the fort in the center of the park. They've been fantastic as holding midfielders, and Rashawn Williams, he's been pretty versatile in that he's been also able to occupy that 8 position as well as when he needs to play that 10 position. But he'll make his way off the pitch, and so will Samuel Taylor. A number of substitutions being made for Mount Pleasant, and among those who came on to the pitch just a moment ago was Abraham Joseph, who plied his trade last year for Balls Academy, as did this young man, Ho Young, I believe, playing that into the path of DeMar Wallace, but Mario Nelson, good defending there to just shield that and allow it to go all the way to goalkeeper Marco Dean Spence. Northern Newman now will just occupy a more attacking role with Taylor coming off. Adlam. Payne to Adlam. Back to Senior. Fullbacks are out of position here. They can catch them out. Up to go the safer route, but the safer route has lost them the ball. And it seems Newman's playing up front now for Mount Pleasant. And Jackson St. Leonard is just drifting out to the left. Wallace has possession. Trying to find Clark, unable to. Good defending from Abraham Joseph. Should have just passed it, but tried to dribble around his man, and it seems that the referee will go back and call, I believe, a foul. But nevertheless, Northern Newman should be getting some medical attention. And apart from Abraham Joseph, it seems Sean Benjamin has come onto the pitch. Hence why Jackson St. Leonard's moved out to the left. And as mentioned before, you can remember from last week, Benjamin did come off the bench to score twice. St. Leonard moved to the left-hand side and was devastating there. Scored and was absolutely just decimating the fullback of Montego Bay United down that left-hand side, I believe, Kimani McLean. And Benjamin himself was absolutely fantastic. He has 4 goals to his name so far this season. Dangerous in front of goal. Pretty quick and pretty skillful. As I mentioned before, he's one of those players who played last year. Number of games, but not much. And he's taken on a bigger role this year, of course, having to occupy the void left by Siobhan Byron as a centre forward. And he's done his job, scoring the same amount of goals in his competition that Byron scored last year. The ball played over the top, however, unable to find St. Leonard there. KFA now on the attack with Kenrick Brown. Gets it out wide to Dejan Ho Young. Keep it in play. Has Harriet, however, to beat. And he takes him down that byline, and despite the protests of wanting a foul, will not be heeded, and it will be a goal kick to Mount Pleasant. And it seems Harriet has gone down here on the behind the goal with an injury. And also there was a substitution in goal actually for Mount Pleasant, and it seems that Marco Dean Spence has exited the pitch, I believe, for Clifford Jean. Played downfield. Headed away to Adlam. Oh, they've won the ball back now with Sean Benjamin. Down the left hand now with Jackson St. Leonard, but it wasn't a great pass. Surrendered position quite cheaply, and now KFA just let off the hook there. Not in any danger of giving up a goal. And well, to say, they're playing themselves into trouble a bit at times, KFA. Just need to be careful of how they pass out from the back. But now it's Davian Clark. Finds Kenrick Brown. Gets it to Ho Young, but couldn't keep it in play. Bit of a rushed pass. Was put under pressure there by the midfield of Mount Pleasant. Oh, Clark put his head in a dangerous position there. Could have gotten himself kicked, but KFA win the ball back now with Davian Clark. Trying to take on Hines. Skips inside. Trying to supply the pass there to Holloway, unable to. Now here's Adlam out wide to Payne. Trying to find Wallace, and he does on that right hand side. Trying to take on Jackson St. Leonard. Gets it back to Adlam. Cross coming in. Oh, dangerous clearance there from Mario Nelson. He puts that behind his own goal, and it will be a corner kick. Almost ended up in the back of his own net, however. And 55 minutes gone. Still no goals in the opening encounter of the last match day of the KFC Under 18 Elite Cup. It's the end of the league phase, and this is just the first game for today, of course. Coming up after this, it will be Harbour View taking on Ballers Academy, and Portmore versus Waterhouse will be the big clash of the day. A clash to decide who will go through to the semi-finals in this competition, who gets that coveted fourth spot. And of course, Ballers Academy, as I mentioned before, don't have a chance to make it because regardless of the result for Waterhouse, they are unable to surpass Waterhouse. But Ballers Academy, I have to say, they did give a really good account of themselves this year. Did way better than last year, picked up more results consistently. And it was nice to see the development of some of their players. But now here's DeMar Wallace, leaves it for Davian Clark to take a strike on, and easily saved in the end by Clifford Jean. Good distribution there, lovely ball into the path of St. Nord. If he can keep it in play, no he can't. We'll go out for a throw in now. Among the players that I've enjoyed the most seeing their development this year, just in general, but especially coming from Ballers Academy, has most certainly been the emergence of Kyle Hussey. Of course, we did see him play last year, but wasn't he, from if my memory serves correctly, it wasn't a regular guaranteed starter. He did play a couple of games, but he's emerged not just into a starter, but one of the key players, one of the standout players in his position in the entire competition. 2 goals to his name, but a plenty of individual moments. And a shot coming in here, dangerous one from KFA. Just over the bar, but good strike nonetheless. Surged past Harriet, who has been unable to deal with the attacks down that side there. That's Ronaldo Harriet, not having the greatest of days. His brother, on the other hand, Ras Ronaldinho Harriet, hands down, perhaps the best 1v1 defender we've seen in this competition. As I mentioned before, I was just talking about Kyle Hussey, who's been absolutely electric. Yes, a couple of goals, but it's his overall play, his dribbling, his decision-making, his playmaking that has really stood out. And to see him pretty much just get put in jail, in solitary confinement by Ras Ronaldinho Harriet a couple of weeks ago in that game between Ballers Academy and Mount Pleasant, which they won 3-0, mind you, Mount Pleasant. It was just crazy to see, because you're not expecting that anyone could do that to Kyle Hussey, because when he's on form, he's absolutely unbelievable. But brilliant defending from Ras Ronaldinho Harriet on that day, and right throughout the competition, really. Benjamin unable to trap that. KFA have the ball once more. Payne. Senior. Kelvin Brown on the ball. One of the more experienced players on the park. Of course, representing the nation at a junior level, as well as He's played before for Harbourview in this competition. Cross coming in now from Young. Pretty poor one, however. Ronnie Hines quite easily got to it ahead of the attacker. Now is Newman. And foul goes the other way. Mount Pleasant have a free kick now. 60 minutes gone, 61 minutes gone, and they're thereabout. And yet to produce a goal this game, but the football on show has been enjoyable to watch, and it's what we've come to expect from both these teams. Just another little water break here, 62 minutes into this game. Teams just receiving perhaps some instruction tactically, as well as just getting a bit of a rest. Of course, we are on an island where heat is not necessarily always the kindest to us. And so we just want to take care of the players. And speaking of taking care of the players, Mount Pleasant, as I mentioned before, made a number of substitutions, getting top goal scorer in this competition so far this year. Samuel Taylor off the pitch pretty early on, just 5 minutes ago. Sean Williams been their key player so far this year. He's come off the pitch as well, making a number of substitutions just to preserve their youngsters ahead of what is going to be a grueling remaining possible 2 games. Of course, remains to be seen who they'll play in the semi-finals. It's going to be between Waterhouse and Portmore, which will be a showdown for the ages coming up for you at the last game of the day at 4. But the second versus third place is pretty much set in stone. It will be most likely Waterhouse, I should say KFA versus Harbourview, which of course is a rematch of last year's semi-final where Harbourview triumphed over them in pretty convincing fashion as well, as they got to the final where they did lose to Mount Pleasant. And it's not just the fact, as I mentioned before, that they've beaten them last year in the semi-final, but they've beaten them both times so far in the league phase of the competition, Harbourview. So they'll coming into that game against KFA if the score should remain like this, which would cement KFA's position in third. Harbourview would come into that game, that semi-final, as favourites, considering the previous results. But it's going to be an interesting tactical matchup. Defensively, Harbourview have been perhaps the most solid team in the league thus far this season. Rarely give anything away, and marshalled excellently by Tristan Bethune, Deacon Jemison in goal. And Zahir Dose, who surprisingly played centre-back quite a bit towards the end of the season, most likely due to a bit of injuries. Cross coming in now and headed in by KFA. And they've taken the lead here. We spoke potentially about them maybe finishing in 4th, which would guarantee them a showdown with Mount Pleasant in the semi-finals. But I think any chance of that is being quelled here by that goal, as they're now well on their way to winning this game and cementing the third place position in the table. And Wallace unable to keep that in play. Hopefully we can get a replay of that goal. But the marking there, from what I can recall, was pretty poor. Where Mount Pleasant, not something you see often from them. Abraham Joseph with all his pace. Unable to keep it in play, and he's ended up in the defense. Bit of an unfortunate sequence of events there. Senior. Shaquan Elliott's been a bit quiet today. I'll be hoping that he can make a bit more of an impact on the game. But nevertheless, 1-0 to the good KFA, not really much to complain about. And especially in the absence of Romy Henry, there really is nothing to complain about. And Mount Pleasant, their fans just lamenting the lack of a press so far in this second half. Of course, sun has been pretty draining, perhaps just playing a part on their lack of energy in the middle of the park, which we're not used to seeing from them. Joseph to Hines, back to Joseph. Harriet looking long for Mario Newman. Nardo Newman, I should say, I apologize. But Mount Pleasant doing a throw in here. Abraham Joseph just urging St. Denard to come for it. And played off of Joseph for a goal kick. Mount Pleasant really do struggle here. They really have been struggling to get anything going in this second half, in the final third, especially since they've substituted Rashawn Williams and Samuel Taylor, and it's just a telltale sign of how important those two are to their goal scoring. Of course, they've been second in KFA for the majority of this season in terms of goal scoring. St. Denard, good turn. That's played off of him by Senior. Good defending in the end. There's Holloway, gets it up wide to Ho Young, can take on Harriet once more now. He's bested him for most of this game. And a bit of a scramble there on the ground. David Clark urging the referee to reconsidering his decision there, but nevertheless, the play will go against him, and Nelson looking long for Nardo Newman, who's been given a pretty hard task. He's been asked to play up front as the lone forward when, in my opinion, he's not really a front man. That's not necessarily his best position. He's predominantly played as a midfielder or wide player this season. Sean Benjamin is actually perhaps the player you want in that role, but he's been wide left It's pretty much overlapped with Jackson St. Nord, who's moving out now to the right-hand side. Teams just seems a bit disjointed now. A bit out of whack tactically since those couple of substitutions, which you don't really typically expect from a Mount Pleasant team, because even regardless of substitutions, they usually have such crazy depth that each player, not just in terms of a talent level, you don't notice a dip, but tactically, each player is so smart that they know the game plan and they can execute, perhaps not as well as the first team, but to a great level. But it's just not been on show today. Here's Newman, and that definitely went out of play, or will be a goal kick. Just about less than 9 minutes to go in this encounter. Of course, as mentioned before, it is the first of the day, first of 3. Right up after this, we do have Harborview versus Balls Academy. Neither team really having much to play for. It's already pretty much cemented that Balls Academy are unable to make the top 4, and it's also likewise cemented for Harborview that they will finish second in the table. St. Nord has the ball, however, and he's upset at the decision of the linesman, but will go out. KFA to take. But nevertheless, regardless of the fact that there's not much to play for in terms of a change in position on the table for either team, or from maybe potentially finishing in 5th position, or at the very least, finishing level with Waterhouse. Still a matter of pride and good football on show, most definitely. You can bet your life on that. Balls Academy have played some nice stuff at times, especially Kyle Hussey, as I mentioned before, one of the standout players in this competition, the tricky wide player. Definitely the type of player you pay to see. Holloway gets it out wide to Ho Young once more. They've been using him as an outlet all game long, and now Clark keeps it in play. Gets it to Ho Young. Shoved off it by Hines, but he still has possession. Ho Young in a bit of a precarious situation and unable to get past the captain from Mount Pleasant, Ronnie Hines, and that will be put out for a throw in here. And Dominic Clark, who has notched 5 goals this season, coming off the bench, which he has done for the last couple of games since the under-17s for KFA have returned. Of course, did score a hat-trick against Portmore earlier in the season, and he has proven himself at times to be a real match winner. Very fast and extremely athletic in terms of his leaping ability as well. Does need some work over to just polish his overall game in terms of technical ability and decision making. And does strike me as the type of forward player that does need about 2 or 3 chances to score, but nevertheless, he's been really, really good so far this year, and that's why for the majority of the campaign, he's been the top scorer until he was surpassed by Samuel Taylor. And a fan favorite's made his way onto the pitch, Basil Trail. He's already scored so far this season. I believe he scored against Waterhouse pretty early in the competition. I believe match day 2. And that 4-0 win, and one of the most beloved players in this competition, especially the most beloved for Mount Pleasant. Despite his diminutive stature, always puts on a show for the fans who cheer every time he gets the ball. Basil Trail, perhaps the youngest in the competition, but he's proven he belongs with the big boys. It's not just a gimmick, a really skillful young midfielder. And as he begins to fill out his body, he'll most definitely be a trusted and valued member of the squad. And that header there you can see from that corner, unable to really trouble the goal of Javier Coke. And the players from Harbour View beginning to come out of the tunnel now. Just a subtle reminder that they will play next against Balls Academy, after which the big game today will take place. Waterhouse versus Portmore, as both teams vie for a spot in the semi-finals of this competition. One of them will earn the right to play Portmore United. Well, look, not Portmore, Mount Pleasant rather. All away. Oh, Surges past Hines. Cross coming into the box now. And oh, Clark got there ahead of Rasrinaldeo Harriet, but just couldn't tap it home, and that is what he offers, ladies and gentlemen. Very instinctive striker, knows how to get in those positions, knows how to use his speed, leverage his athletic abilities, jumping and his speed to really get around defenders. Just not the most clinical of strikers as yet. Does tend to miss quite a few chances, which you can bet that he's going to eventually score one. It's pretty hard to deal with those type of players because they're so energetic and they pose such a threat constantly. It's hard to get rid of them. He's a menace, a pest, really. Free kick tricking quickly. Another Flowers has made his way onto the pitch, and he's made an impact since coming on for Mount Pleasant, but they'll be hoping that he can contribute a goal. Ball out wide now to Shaquan Elliott. And Clark did well to let that run across his body, but he couldn't keep it in play afterwards. Will be a throw-in to Mount Pleasant, and a substitution will be made here. David Clark, captain for KFA, he'll be coming off. I have to say, it's been a bit strange that Cavario White hasn't really gotten much game time recently. Yes, as I mentioned before, a number of new additions to the team who were away in Europe have come into the team from that Waterhouse game, but Cavario White was one of their standout players earlier in the season, scored 3 goals so far this season, and don't get me wrong, his performances have been pretty inconsistent in terms of his overall game, but nevertheless, still been a bit shocking how little game time he's gotten. Trail fouled there by Payne, I believe. It will be a free kick. Seems Javier Coke's down in goal for KFA. And with very little time in the game, I think it's fair to announce the man of the match, and that award will go to the goal scorer on the day, Kelvin Brown, who scored what seems to be the winner for KFA and has defended pretty well so far today. And on the back of his goal, KFA seemed to be headed to cementing third place in the competition. He's given up the ball here to Ronaldinho Harriet in the corner, but nevertheless it won't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things because they have the ball back. Played downfield now into the path of Dominic Clark, who takes it down well. And Harriet's lost out here. Bit of a fumble, and Clark gets it out wide, trying to find Keyshawn Lewis, who's been really good so far this season. Just taking a dip in form towards the end. But nevertheless, quite a talented young player. And that did go out of play. Will be a throw-in. Cleared downfield now by Akiri Sr. Headed on by Nelson. As a shot now, Kevario White, who's taken back the armband. As you can see there, a good shot there coming in from Kevario White. And that's the full-time whistle. Brings to an end the first game of the day, of course, first of 3 matches. Kingston Football Academy at the end, winning 1-0 over Mount Pleasant, avenging their earlier loss in the season to Mount Pleasant. It means that KFA cement third place in this competition, which means they will take on, I believe, Harbour View, who play now. They have cemented second place already. They will now just play for a matter of pride, really. They take on Ballers Academy, who fought valiantly this season and just narrowly missed out on a spot in the semifinals.